Hello and welcome back. Today we review Killzone Mercenary, one of the most hyped and anticipated Vita titles of this year. Like with all my reviews, the graphics, sound, and gameplay will be separately scored, and then an overall score, which is not an average, will be given at the end of the review, which reflects my overall opinion of the game. Since Killzone 2 gameplay was first shown, Killzone has been a series which defines the graphical potential of the PlayStation hardware it launches on. Killzone Mercenary continues this trend on PlayStation Vita, and it stands head and shoulders above all other Vita games graphically. This game is gorgeous, and a true testament to the ability of the much underrated Sony Cambridge team. Aside from the gorgeous textures, the awesome depth of field effects, the spectacular lighting, the excellent character models, and the jaw-dropping environments, this game runs at a steady frame rate and native resolution. The fact that this game could look this gorgeous and be running at native 544p on Vita without massive frame drops is a big slap in the face to all other graphical efforts on PlayStation Vita. There are a couple of small problems though. The frame rate does slow down occasionally in single player when there are a lot of enemies on screen and bullets are flying everywhere, but it never hits that unplayable level that so many other Vita games occasionally hit. Also, some of the particle effects, like smoke, are clearly lower res than others, like fire. But these two issues do not detract from the fact that this is easily the prettiest and most visually impressive portable game ever made. The graphics for Killzone Mercenary get a 10 on 10. Good sound and good sound design are integral parts of a great first-person shooter, and fortunately for us, Guerrilla Cambridge delivered in both of these categories. After being subject to the awful sounds and sound design in both Resistance Burning Skies and Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, it was delightful to hear proper sound effects for a change in Killzone Mercenary. Gun sounds sound great, as they are identical to the gun sounds in the console games. Other sound effects, like explosions and footsteps, are very pleasing to the ear as well. Gunshots and enemy footsteps, unlike in Declassified, can easily be located due to the superb sound design in this game. The music, while not particularly memorable, is still rather good and fitting for the tone of the game. The voice acting is somewhat of a mixed bag. The generic ISA and Helghast soldiers are well voiced as always in the series. Main characters like Admiral Grey of the ISA or Colonel Kratek of the Helghast are well voiced as well. However, some of the other supporting characters can get a bit dicey, especially with the other mercenaries you work with. Blackjack's Eastern European based accent is also not really believable, and definitely sounds like someone impersonating a Russian person instead of someone with heritage from that region. However, even the worst voice actors in this game are solid, and the better ones are just great. Overall, the sound design gets an 8.5 on 10. The primary aspect that sets the Killzone series apart from other first-person shooters is its feel. The Killzone games have always strived to have a weighty feel to their weapons and movement, making you really feel like a human carrying a gun instead of a twitchy, ultra-fast moving turret mowing down enemies. While some people aren't fans of weightier first-person shooter series, I personally love it, and I was happy when I first got my hands on the beta to see that it feels more closely to Killzone 2, the weightiest game in the series. Now, don't get me wrong, this game is by no means slow, and aim settings can be adjusted in the settings menu, but aiming, moving, shooting, and meleeing feels more meaty in this game than other games. Guerrilla Cambridge really hit it out of the park with this game when it comes to feel and controls. Aiming is tight even with Vita's small analog sticks, and lining up headshots is just as natural as it is on DualShock 3. The touchscreen is also used rather well in this game, and doesn't feel as unnecessarily shoehorned in as I thought it would be. During gameplay, the only times you have to touch a screen are during melee attacks or the hacking minigame. I feel that the touchscreen melee system is actually done rather well, especially in multiplayer with the counter system. Instead of mashing the L button to initiate a brutal melee attack and have it not work half the time like in the console version, you simply tap the triangle button, then follow the on-screen gesture to initiate your kill before your opponent inputs his counter gesture to escape. This makes melee actually exciting, as reflexes and accuracy matter instead of just mashing a button. Killzone Mercenary has three major facets to it: campaign mode, contracts mode, and multiplayer mode. The campaign mode is a full-fledged, albeit criminally short, blockbuster campaign similar to what you'd find in the console games. You play as the silent protagonist Aaron Danner, a mercenary profiting off the ISA and Helghast war. The game takes place over the course of Killzone 1 and 2, and makes mention to events in Killzone Liberation. Playing as a mercenary who is not loyal to either side really helped open the story up and expose some of the grey areas from the woefully underutilized Killzone lore. Whereas in past Killzone games, the ISA was simply the good guys and the Helghast were simply the bad guys, Killzone Mercenary's fresh perspective on the war made for a deeper plot and a truer understanding of the motives of each side. In terms of raw gameplay, the campaign for Mercenary actually surpasses the console games due to giving you multiple ways of tackling a situation. Since you are often dropped alone into enemy-infested areas, stealth is more important in this game than it was in past Killzone games. Skulking around behind cover and meleeing enemies, interrogating officers, or exploring the environment to find ideal spots for takedowns is rewarded in this game in the form of more valor, the game's currency. But if stealth is not your cup of tea, you can tackle any situation in the game in different ways, using precision weapons such as single-shot rifles, still-out LMGs, or even clear an entire area with explosives. I loved how open-ended the missions were, and I feel that future Killzone games could learn a lot from how this game was set up. However, as mentioned before, the campaign for Killzone Mercenary is short, woefully short. Despite playing on the hardest difficulty, I finished in a mere 3 hours and 45 minutes. While it was an absolutely tight and enjoyable 3 hours and 45 minutes, it's still simply too short for a game like this. Thankfully, Contracts mode alleviates at least some of this problem. Contracts mode unlocks after you finish the first mission in the game. This mode challenges you to play the open-ended missions in specific ways, such as perfect stealth, precision speedruns, or balls-out demolition runs. Despite the fact that you're simply playing the same missions over again, only in different ways, I found this mode to be very enjoyable and it added lots of longevity to the single player of Killzone Mercenary. Though like with all Killzone games, Mercenary's meat is in its multiplayer mode. Through a combination of Vita's hardware limitations and conscious design choices, Guerrilla Cambridge opted for 4v4 online instead of huge 32-player battles. While the concept of smaller battles may initially turn off some, I slated those people to at least try it out first. It's very fun, much more so than Vita's other 4v4 first-person shooters. Unlike Resistance and Call of Duty, which, among other issues, had map sizes which were far too small, Killzone's map sizes are perfect. They are big enough so that you aren't constantly spawning on top of each other, but not so big that maps seem barren. The map design is also fantastic, with several cover points, lots of verticality, and many tactical points which are fun to get to and hold. There are 3 multiplayer modes: Mercenary Warfare, which is Deathmatch, Guerrilla Warfare, which is Team Deathmatch, and the series staple Warzone, which is a team-based engagement with dynamically changing modes. While all 3 are fun, Warzone mode was missing some of the really cool modes from the console game, which were replaced by modes which are fun but not as diverse. There's really only 2 major problems with the multiplayer. First, there's no voice chat with people outside of your party. This makes it impossible to warn random teammates that someone is following them or to watch out for mines and stuff. The second problem, which is my personal biggest issue with the game, is the party system. You see, Killzone allows you and people you are in a party chat with to party up and launch into games together, essentially alleviating the former game flaw of not having voice chat. However, for reasons which are absolutely beyond me, the game puts you on separate teams 95% of the time. This wouldn't be such a big deal if it was just for one round and then it auto-switched your party to be on the same team together. Heck, it wouldn't even be a big deal if you had the option to manually switch between rounds. But no, not only does this game split you up, but you're stuck like that forever until you quit. This is an absolutely bonehead oversight in an otherwise excellent multiplayer package. What's the point of partying up with people and launching into a game together if you're almost always going to be on separate teams? It defeats the purpose of partying up for tactical play in the first place. This is an issue I really hope is patched later on. With those complaints aside, Killzone Mercenary's gameplay is top notch. The single player, while short, is a fantastic ride and is extended by the well thought out and executed Contracts mode. The multiplayer is technically sound and has excellent mechanics, map design, and fun modes, despite the fact that the party system may be a little borked at the time of this review. Killzone Mercenary's gameplay is not perfect, but is great overall, and it gets an 8 on 10. After 2 major disappointments in Resistance Burning Skies and Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, the Vita finally received the first-person shooter it deserves. Killzone Mercenary succeeds in virtually all ways, and has set a new bar for production values on the Vita. Overall, Killzone Mercenary gets an 8.5 on 10.